Welcome to the STEM Everyday Podcast. Each episode features educators sharing their practical ideas to put more science, technology, engineering, and math into every classroom every day. For show notes and more information, visit dailystem.com. Here's your host, Chris Woods.
Well, today on the STEM Everyday Podcast, we have a very special guest. Robert Schulman is a prosthetist, and he is the founder and president of LimbKind Foundation. So LAMB, LimbKind, K-I-N-D. And you can find out more about it at limbkind.org. We're going to find out about all those prosthetics and things that so many educators are starting to work with their kids. We're going to find out about this great organization that Robert started and find out about some incredible things that you could do with your kids, not only to bring awareness about limb loss, but also to be helping your kids design things. So welcome to the show today, Robert.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. I have to thank Angela Abend. She was a guest on episode 120, and she is a phenomenal advocate. She retired as an educator, so she jumped all in because she's been doing things for the LimbKind Foundation for years with her own students, right?
Yeah, Angela has been with us since day one, even before we became a nonprofit organization. And she's an amazing educator. I am still mad at her that she retired, but we'll allow it. You know, everyone needs a little sunshine for the hard work that she put in for many years.
Right. And what happened is now she's even more trying to say, hey, educators, there's this incredible opportunity to help kids think about kids that are dealing with limb loss, whether in your hometown or around the world, whether through fundraising or through bringing that awareness, working through your LimbKind Foundation, Robert, kids can be involved no matter where they are to make a big impact. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about how you got into prosthetics in the first place and how you kind of started this foundation.
Sure. So feel old, but 27 years ago, I found out about the field.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the neatest thing because I never knew what I wanted to do occupation wise. Yeah. And I was going through that whole college thing of what do I want to do? And I knew two things, and one of them was I like to work with my hands and build things. And
like a lot of kids. I'll just jump in right there. Yeah. So many kids love that hands-on aspect.
Oh my God, yeah. It was, I knew I wanted to do something like that. And then the other thing was that I love to help people in some way, shape, or form. And I graduated with a sociology degree because I had the most credits in it, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. When I saw this, I was up in Buffalo, and I read this article in a magazine about prosthetics. And it was like the light bulb just went off, and I said, wow, wait, I could help people and build something. Yeah. So I contacted one of the guys up in Buffalo, and he brought me in. I was just in love with the occupation right from day one. And it's been I don't feel like I have a job. I absolutely love what I do. So it's been fantastic.
That's awesome. And so what you do is you help create limbs for kids around the world, but also bring awareness at the same time, both of those things.
Yeah. So, my job is amazing. I love being able to help. I make prostheses for a living. This is what I do for a career. And I guess it was around 8 or so years ago, my kids were getting a little older, and I knew the empty nest syndrome was going to start kicking in as a single dad. And I said, let me start doing some volunteering. And I started working with some different nonprofit organizations in my, arena, things with children limb loss. And one of the local nonprofit organization called the Living Water Children's Center Fund contacted me, and they had a little boy who needed 3 prostheses. He was from Tanzania, Africa, this boy Joseph. And long story short, we brought him here to New York, and we made him 3 prostheses over the course of a month.
Wow.
And it was one of the most amazing experiences. And it really started to draw my attention more and more about the need for children with limb loss that need prostheses around the world. So this organization then asked me, if we were to send you to Haiti and make prostheses for children that lost limbs from the earthquake in 2010, would you be interested in going? And it was like Field of Dreams. If we build it, will you come? I was like, absolutely.
Right.
So, I figured this would be a one-time trip type thing, and I've been going back every year since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then so many people that I know from the volunteer things. I volunteer, and I'm on the board with a camp called Camp No Limits, which is a camp for children with limb loss. A lot of people that I know through that and all the other avenues of things that I do, people wanted to become a bigger part of what I do. Gotcha. And so I formed a nonprofit organization and just ran with it called the LimbKind Foundation. And it's just been absolute whirlwind, wonderful stuff ever since.
That's awesome, Robert. And definitely thank you on behalf of, I'm sure there's so many families out there that have received things that have helped their kids. I'm sure you've had many thanks throughout your career, but definitely you deserve thanks for all of your hard work. And again, educators, go to limkind.org. And of course, everything will be in the show notes as well. And if people want to hear like your whole story, how like in full expanded form, you gave it as a TEDx talk, that link is in the show notes as well. Just again, if you wanted to use that with your students in your classroom to say, hey, look, this is somebody that followed their passion. I love that, Robert. You're like, I know what I want to do. I want to help people. And you loved using your hands. And I think a lot of educators are realizing that that's a lot of what kids want to do, whether it's from STEM or from just everything about education.
Yeah. It's funny, as a child, like you heard me say, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a career because for most of us are, we know about the careers that are like the top 20, 30 things that we know about, right?
Yeah.
And my field is very small. There is such a small percentage of people that do what I do. Maybe it's just because of the job title, because it's so hard to say.
They can't even pronounce it right.
But, honestly, it's a really small field. And when I found out about it, it was just like, the sparks went off in my brain. So, yeah, I mean, definitely like any other career that might not be on your radar, definitely check it out. I mean, YouTube has some amazing day in the life of a prosthetist or, many other careers too. But you can really see what prosthetists do or even call up other prosthetists wherever you are in the country. And sometimes they'll let you shadow, a prosthetist.
And again, Robert, I want to invite you on the show. I'm so excited for you to tell this story because I think this is a great opportunity for educators to show their kids that there's so many different connections in our world. Like you said, we think of those top 20 careers, scientist, doctor, lawyer, all those types of things, but there's so many things and kids want to help people. And so let's dive into that because I want to give educators some ideas through you, Robert, really to share how, number one, could they help Limkind, but number two, some things that they could do in their classroom to help their kids become more aware and be some of the help to create some of these things. Because with 3D printing and different types of fabricating techniques, there's a lot of people that can do a lot of different things that 20 years ago when you were starting out, Robert, I bet you would have dreamed of some of this technology that's available today.
Yeah. Very lucky today. A lot of technology is just booming. Well, I will once again give my wonderful kudos to our godly teacher that brought me into this world of what we're doing with this is Miss Aben. So, some of the schools I do a lot of presentations for a lot of local schools because it is a unique thing. And I bring in a lot of prostheses, pass them around, and all the kids love that kind of stuff. I've had times where I brought children amputees in, and, certain ones that I'm really friendly with. And it's good for both of them. They get to show, look, I'm a normal kid, I'm just missing my leg or both legs or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then, the kids see it. It's not some kind of freaky thing or it's not something to stare at, and they're just another kid.
Right.
So, that's definitely a great way to start. Maybe reach out to a local prosthetist and see if they'll do a presentation. So when Angela first brought me in, that's where we started. We started by, just talking about what I do to her mass of students. The different things that I started, like the nonprofit organization, the need for prostheses in Haiti and all the other areas that we go to around the world, things along that line. Yep. And it developed. So this is where it was amazing what she did was she developed a project for all of the students that she worked with to each grab a piece of the pie in this puzzle. And each one would learn about, like we were talking about, the different sectors, about prosthetics. One would learn about 3D printing. One would learn about Haiti. One would learn about Limkind, and et cetera, et cetera. And they did this mass fundraiser where they would all chip in and they sold, a lot of Limkind swag. They sold bake sale stuff. They sold bracelets. You name it, these kids sold it, and they were amazing at it. And then you could see the kindness spreading to some of the children that really took to it, where we had people who were making their own artwork, selling it, making bracelets and selling it. The most amazing one to me is that we were naming something after is a girl named Faith, who for over a year now, about almost a year and a half, was collecting bottles and cans. It became part of her bat mitzvah project. And what she did was she was going to donate. I think her goal originally was like $500. Well, she raised $2,200 some odd dollars.
I know.
It was just last week, actually, her bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
And it was just, but you could tell this was, during the whole pandemic when everyone's locking themselves in the doors, she's at the machine with the cans and the bottles, just, driven that she was going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And it was things like that. And you could see it exuding out of the kids how amazing and powerful it was that they learned truly how to become a kind person, how to be mindful, and how to think of others before just thinking of yourself.
Yeah. And I know a lot of what you talked about there, Robert, it really starts with just that awareness piece, so it starts with, like you said, inviting somebody from the local area, search Google, just search your local area, and you're going to be able to find somebody. If you can't, reach out to Limkind, limkind.org. I'm sure they'll put you in touch with somebody, but just getting that somebody in there just to spark the interest for your kids, or show them again, the video of you, Robert, and some of the other videos that I'll put in the show notes as well. But then also April is Limb Loss Awareness Month. So, I mean, there's months for everything now, but how incredible to say, okay, let's really focus on it right now. So definitely teachers can do things, especially focused around a month.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to concentrate with Limb Loss Awareness Month. There's some really neat organizations within my industry. Of course, mine is, the Limkind Foundation, but the limb loss world that support them, Challenge Athletes Foundation, Camp No Limits for children with limb loss, the ACA, all these different organizations that help people with limb loss. And then we started this really neat challenge called the -1 challenge.
Yeah.
Which hashtag you took part of.
Yep. Hashtag minus and then the number 1 and then challenge.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. A lot of people have been taking part of it. And the challenge is very similar to the Ice Bucket Challenge theme, but the way we do it is get on and you perform any task. It could be anything. It could be riding a bike, tying your shoe, cooking, personal hygiene, you name it, the sky's the limit. But the challenge is to do it minus the use of one of your limbs, whether it be an arm or a leg. Yeah. And believe me, some things are a heck of a lot harder than you think they are.
Yeah, just that simple thing. Like I was peeling eggs, and so I was like, I'm going to do this with one hand. I'm just going to see what it's like, and it's tricky of peeling all those bits of shell off of a boiled egg is with 2 hands. Try it with one hand. That's incredible. So, but again, those are just a simple thing. You could have every kid in your classroom do that. Challenge them to do one thing. Have them record themselves doing it. If you want to take it a step further, have them edit it. Have them figure out a way to post it, do it on Flipgrid, do it on, all those different types of things that you educators use with your students, post it on your school's social media sites, but get them thinking about what it's like. Because then now you can say, how could we design something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Even myself, who, I'm an adult, and I remember a few years ago when I started volunteering for Camp No Limits, and I've been in this prosthetic industry for years. One of the first things they do, I sit down with a group of the kids. It was a bunch of the children who were missing upper extremity, missing portions of their arms. And they were talking about different ways to get through your activities of your daily living, or we call them ADLs. So they were going through tying your shoe with one hand. And so like, wow, come sit down and, try tying your shoe with one hand. Meanwhile, I've been in this industry for years. I couldn't do it at all. That was what I did in my challenge, because after this many years, if I couldn't do that by now, But I mean, it's little things like that. We all take so much for granted, and just to be able to, like you say, get the kids thinking about things that they never even thought of, because we're fortunate, a lot of us, to have been born without that type of an issue,
And again, now you can say, okay, so we've tested something, we've tried something, and now you can say, all right, how could we design something better? How could we reimagine products? How could we design, I think about what would it be like for trying to open up one of those like plastic packages where there's no way you can get whatever it is out of it because it's like all sealed shut. And even with scissors and stuff, you're like, hurting yourself. Just so many different things in our world. What if you just challenge the kids to try that? And I know you're also working on right now to have it ready for fall of 2021, some lessons, some project ideas, correct?
Yes. So we're taking the idea that the teacher, Miss Abend, created, and we did for about 3 years, putting this project together with the kids. And we're kind of making it a version that isn't just for the local schools here. We're putting together a full idea that we work with the teachers. I'm not a teacher, I'm a prosthetist, and I definitely will stay within that swim lane. But we do have teachers on our end to work with you educators, help you create a lesson plan and come up with ideas in order to help them and learn how to be kind, learn how to be mindful of others, and how to help support. We go around, my organization, we travel around the world. We're in almost 5 countries now, where we're helping provide prostheses towards the kids. Part of this program is to make the kids youth ambassadors and make them, help support children with limb loss, and their fundraising efforts go directly towards making prostheses for these kids around the world.
That's awesome.
So, and we're going to link up to where they work towards a specific trip that we do. And we're going to Ethiopia, Kenya, Haiti, Philippines, and then next year we're adding Sri Lanka.
Wow.
So you're working towards one of these trips, and then, we can set up like the Zoom link so they can actually see the children and be able to communicate with them and really see what their fundraising efforts went towards. So that's what the goal is. And we're creating that now. And we'll be ready to put into use for the upcoming school year. Hopefully classes will also be in session.
Right. But even if it's not, again, making things work, that's really what LimbKind is all about, right? Making things work. So
yes, it happened.
I'd love to hear you tell a little bit about the story of a fashion show for these kids, right?
Yeah, so, it was really incredible. My sister, who's an occupational therapist, Jill Smith.
So it kind of runs in the family, right?
Yeah, definitely keep it in the family, a lot of things. She does a lot of work with me, but she was doing her first international trip with me. And that would be Ethiopia last year in February. And a lot of the times, we have people fundraise for their portion of the trip. It's expensive. We have flights and hotel, all the other stuff.
Yep.
So her idea for a fundraiser was to do an adaptive runway show where all of the models were children with limb loss. And it'd be this empowering event. We thought it's going to be kind of small, when she first created this. Well, boy, did that ball start rolling. And it was this amazing day where she had people from all local venues and everyone was donating their services. And we ended up having NBC follow us for the day. And
that's awesome.
Police escorting us all over the place. The kids felt like rock stars. And we raised, a lot of money, which was wonderful. And the kids were so empowered by, the day. So we're in the midst of planning the end of this year.
That's awesome.
So definitely, it's called Show Your Shine, and you can see all about it on our website, but definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be an amazing event again.
That's awesome. I'll make sure I put that link in the show notes as well, because if you ever saw that video of that whole day, for the kids getting their hair done to getting their just everything, the whole process was just incredible. And I'm sure, Robert, you would agree that as much as this is a great project for students or, a great, opportunity, this is all about helping those kids who just need that little extra help, that hand, that arm, that foot, whatever it is to help them through their everyday life.
Yeah. You'd be so surprised. I mean, I've been a prosthetist here in the States for years, over 20 years. And, we always do different things to make them more empowered and, help them out. But here they do receive prostheses. There's insurance and whatnot. Overseas, in a lot of countries, that is the situation.
Right.
And we're, especially in all the countries that we're going, there's no insurance. There's a lot of poverty. There's definitely, like in Haiti, there's earthquakes that have devastated the island. So there's different situations where they're not going to receive prosthetic care. And these children are hopping around on one leg or, doing things only with one or no arms or whatever their situation is. And it's just, and you talking about a huge life changer where, in a lot of these countries, if you're not able to work, if you're not able to help the family out, I mean, really, a lot of times these kids get given up for adoption. I mean, all kinds of horrific things. Because they just can't handle the situation. That's actually one of the reasons I really got into this volunteer field. The quick backstory on that kid, Joseph, and it's in my TED talk, but I remember when they were telling me that this boy, Joseph, was, he was missing both arms and one of his legs, lived in Tanzania, Africa, and his family just couldn't hunt. He couldn't help build or do anything around, where their living quarters were. So their family put him out into the desert for the hyenas to eat because, it's horrific to think here in the States of something like that. And the words when it was translated was because he was useless. And to this day, that word resonates in my brain. That's why I do what I do. That the fact that because, we make this one device and everything is all better again, they can go on and live a productive life just as much as any other child growing up, but that they were thought of as useless because they didn't have that device. So awesome. It's pretty wild what we take for granted here.
Well, Robert, I really appreciate it. Robert Schulman from Limkind Foundation, limkind.org. Definitely check it out. Find out all the great resources. Again, there's going to be lessons and stuff available throughout the fall in 2021. Lots of ways that you can get involved, from fundraising to donating to just bringing awareness, like with a -1 challenge, or just anything that you can do in your class educators to help, whether it's kids in your own community or, like Robert mentioned, so many kids around the world. Really appreciate all of what you're doing, Robert, and all of your thoughts today.
And Chris, thank you so much for allowing me to express, Limkind, and allow everyone to learn more about what we do. Mm-hmm. Thank you to all the teachers, because I know we have some teachers that follow what we do. And I really look forward to being able to share the programs with the other children outside of my Oceanside, New York area and all these other school districts, to be able to, spread messages of kindness, especially with today's environment. I think things like this are only a bonus for the kids to learn a little outside the box.
Yeah, that's it. Our kids want to be superheroes. They want to solve big problems. This is the way for them to do it, and get your kids doing it. So, and appreciate it, Robert. And again, check out limkind.org, everybody. And thanks again for listening to this episode of the STEM Everyday Podcast. If you want to hear more about Angela and her story of doing some of the Limkind stuff, I know she shared some of it on episode 120. You can find that, as well as all the other great podcasts, if you subscribe, or head to dailystem.com if you want to connect with me. And again, until next time, educators, just keep up the great work with the kids.